Good morning. Welcome back. Rochester Today, Friday morning. I'm Andy Brownell, News Talk 1340, KROC AM at 96.9 FM. And we're joined this morning by Dan Fifield from the Landing MN. Good morning, Dan.
Hey, good morning, Andy. Great to be back.
Well, it's great to see you again. Unfortunately, the topic's not that cheery of a topic. We're heading into the holidays, very, very close. And I'll be honest with you, it's been depressing to cruise down 3rd Avenue, which is, a well-traveled route in this town, and to see the number of people congregating outside the overnight warming center again.
Yep. Our numbers, sadly, the numbers of folks experiencing homelessness in Rochester is not decreasing. Last month, we hit an all-time one-day high of 181 unique individuals who checked in at the day center seeking services. Now, granted, we figure somewhere between 5 and 10% of those folks are housed, but they're clients, past clients that were experiencing homelessness that are housed but still need services. They come in and see our medical professionals. They need clothing. They don't have the money to buy food. Saying that somebody's housed does not necessarily make their lives that much better. It puts a roof over their head. But there's a whole lot of other things that go into that success that people aren't aware of. So, we have clients that continue to come back, for the service. And quite honestly, a lot of the times they come back because that's where their community is. So, but, I don't know the exact numbers of the overnight shelter, but it's my understanding they've reached capacity several times. They're utilizing the overflow site over at Salvation Army all the time, or most of the time. That's my understanding. So it's we are not. I don't think we're meeting the need. So
when you say you peaked at 185 unique visits in a single day, you got to use that as a census, but realistically, you're not seeing everyone, right?
Oh, no. So last month in October, our daily average in October was 134 unique individuals every day. One day it may have been 181, another day it may have been 115, but average,
sure,
out of 31 days, it was 134 unique individuals. That was, let me find that information and I will tell you. I should have had this before. It was 4,400 visits to the day center during the course of the month. That was 442 unique individuals. So it was 4,154 total visits made by 441 unique individuals in October. So, again, using a 10% housed figure, that was 400 individuals that are experiencing homelessness in Rochester at any given time during the month of October. And Rochester has a capacity of 90-ish shelter beds on any given night. You do the math. You tell me what we need. We need a better shelter system in Rochester. We continue to push for that. But it takes a village. So,
how big of a facility would you envision meeting the needs?
Well, I think it's foolish to build something that meets today's needs. Because if you just build something that meets today's needs, you're going to be building a facility that is going to be outdated when you open the doors. My best guess is that the facility that we've had plans drawn for is 60,000 square feet. It'll sleep 180 unique individuals. And it's got a ton of room. Again, using the numbers that we have, it's still not enough, but it's better than 90. It's twice what we've got now. It gives us more day room space. It gives us more office space for those nonprofits and those organizations in Olmsted County that are working with folks that are experiencing homelessness. It just makes a lot more sense. That again, that's my opinion. You asked the question. That's, We've looked at another building that's a little over 30,000 square feet just for a day center, just for expanded day center space. Because right now we're just busting at the gills, busting at the seams, trying to keep some sense of sanity in our building.
Yeah, it's amazing that when you mention the numbers that you're seeing at the Landing, and knowing that I'm quite familiar with that building when it used to be an auto parts store.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a huge building by any stretch of the imagination.
No, and we've tried. Alex has been trying to come up and devise a plan to put some kind of an outside shelter structure on the patio area so that we can have a more of a non-foul weather area that maybe not climate controlled, but that people could go out with a coat on. They're not going to be standing in the rain, standing in the snow. We can't find anybody or anything that'll work for that. So it's a struggle to, without adding a $3 million addition onto our building, to do that. But, we continue to look, we continue to have conversations and try and formulate plans that will work and help this population out. Sadly, it's not going to get any better. Or at least I don't see it getting any better.
The beds that are available now, this is what do you call it? Congregate housing, where you're basically in bunks, yep. Right?
Correct.
What do you do?
Mats on the floor.
What do you do when it's a mom or a mom and dad and they have a bunch of kids with them?
Well, so you brought that up. I had a really quick conversation with Erin Sinwell, the executive director over at Family Promise, just to get some numbers from her tonight. It's tough. Our shelter space for families in Rochester, emergency shelter space for families in Rochester, it doesn't exist. There is no emergency shelter for families. Women's Center, I think, will take mom and kids maybe. Family Promise is more of a residential solution that are people that are families that are accepted into their programming to help them obtain housing. Family Promise doesn't do long-term housing itself. They help people. Well, I take that back. They've got a couple of houses, but they don't have this huge facility where they can do things. But the numbers that Aaron shared with me, let me find them real quick. Their waiting list right now is 44 families. That's on their waiting list currently. And that's from the conversations I've had over the past 6 years, that's the highest number I've heard. It's generally 25 to 30, but there's 44 families that are on their waiting list at Family Promise to get shelter. And I don't know, what that looks like. I know the county helps at times putting people up. The school district at times will help put families up. But their waiting list at Family Promise is 44 families right now. They're working on getting into their new facility, which will be happening, I think, soon. But still, it's not going to be enough. Like I said, there's no emergency shelter for families in southeast Minnesota that I'm aware of. So,
and those are
the ones that we know about.
And these are folks that are, in many cases, just getting by, and then something happens, whether it be a medical bill, a lost one of their jobs, whatever it may be, and they're evicted, right? Is that a common thread of the story?
Yeah, it's a very common thread. You look at, somebody that's working service industry level job, right? Which is, there are a lot of them. There's a lot of need for that. And even somebody that's working a new grad nurse, for instance. I mean, they can get into financial trouble if they've got student loans to pay, if they've got a car loan that they have to pay, and rent, average, apartment cost in Rochester for one bedroom apartment is $1,400. It's not cheap. But you go on Spotted in Rochester, one of those groups on Facebook, and notoriously you will see somebody who's asking for help, because they don't have money to buy food, or our car broke down, or the heater's out in our car and we live in our car, or whatever. It's sad that we can't do better, or that we don't do better. There are a lot of organizations out there right now that are busting their behinds trying to make a difference. But it is a continual fight for funding. It is a continual fight for support from the powers to be, and it's just sad.
I know one of the common things you hear out there is, especially when you're talking about a facility in the future that you've kind of outlined, if you build it, they will come. Do you see evidence of that we have people flocking to our community to receive benefits?
I see people flocking to our community for medical care.
Yeah,
that end up becoming homeless because they come to Rochester with very minimal resources monetarily, and they can't get into the hospital because their insurance is not in place or for whatever reason, and they end up being on the streets. And I'm not blaming anybody, and that's just what happens. We are on the pathway between Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis. So we get a lot of people that are coming through, yes. Do they sit here and go, I'm going to go and be taken care of in Rochester, Minnesota because I heard they've got a good homeless facility there? No, probably not. I mean, yeah, maybe somebody's heard it. That's not the driving factor. So it's a great excuse.
By and large, are you seeing mainly people who have roots here? When I say here, I mean southeastern Minnesota.
Yeah, last time we did any kind of a census count or any question of anything like that, it was about 60%. And granted, that was a year or so ago, so it may very well have changed. But, the large majority of the folks are from southeast Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul. We get a lot of people that are brought into the adult detention center. That are arrested in other areas and are brought in and see the judge and are released from custody, and they're put out on the streets with exactly what they came in with, often is not much, and they say, go to the landing. They come to us. They have really no place to go back to. People that come into treatment facilities, we have that happen as well. They fail out of the treatment facility and end up on the streets with us. So there's a lot of other factors that draw people to Rochester other than the clinic and the landing. So, build it, they will come. My response to a lot of people when they say that is, I am not Kevin Costner and this is not Field of Dreams. So, if they do, we're doing the right thing by being able to take care of them.
Well, as I noted earlier, the group of people waiting to get into the overnight center is getting larger as the weather gets colder. And the weather, we've been lucky. Our fall has been fairly mild, but winter is a reality. What kind of things, if folks are listening today and they have, I don't know, some generosity in their heart, what kind of things could they provide to help out?
Well, as we're sitting here talking, I'm looking out the front window of my house and watching the snowflakes fall. So we're recording this on Wednesday, and it'll be aired on Friday. But yeah, it is snowing. It is wintertime. Warm gloves, water-resistant ski gloves are always a must for in the wintertime. Hand warmers that you can pick up at almost any convenience store or hardware store in town, or you can go to our website, thelandingmn.org, and order them from our wish list. We give out hundreds, if not thousands, of hand warmers every month, and foot warmer, make sure that we don't have to deal with a lot of frostbite issues. Water-resistant winter coats, so ski coats, hooded sweatshirts, those kind of things. Those are the major things during the wintertime that we always need. New socks. We only take new socks and underwear. Things like that. But, what really, besides those things are monetary donations. Right now our monthly budget is $85,000 to $90,000 a month, depending on salaries, at the time. So it's not an inexpensive proposition. And I know that the other organizations in town will echo, what I'm saying right now as far as what they need. And if the landing admin is not your cup of tea, if you'd rather support families, please reach out, and call or go to Family Promises website, go to the Salvation Army's website. Find it in your heart to support those that are struggling to support themselves.
And I know you mentioned how much it takes to run the organization, the Landing MN, and I'm sure the amount it takes to operate these other nonprofits is considerable. But I know you have a big fundraiser coming up in just a couple weeks, in fact, as we head to December.
Yeah. Yep. December 6th is our 4th annual Holiday of Hope Gala. It'll be held down at Hilton downtown on Friday, December 6th. Really excited about it. Last I heard, I think we are almost sold out of tickets. I know that ticket sales online ended last Friday, but I think if you reached out, I think we do still have a few that we can sell. So if any of the listeners are interested, you can drop a email to holly@thelandingmn.org and ask her if there's anything available. And if she has anything, I bet she'll get you squeezed in there. So
you can expect a night of good food and entertainment, I imagine.
It will be great. Powers always takes great care of us. They've got a wonderful crew down at the Hilton that does all of this through Jay Powers. It's April and Chris have always taken great care of us down there. We've got a wonderful band coming in again this year. Blue Water Kings from up in the cities. They played with Prince. They played with a whole lot of other notable folks. Had a lot of fun last year with them. Got some really nice items on the silent auction and on the live auction. So only way you can take advantage of that is to buy a ticket and come and see us.
All right. And good excuse to, if you haven't been in the Hilton, to check out the ballroom. It's a good excuse.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a nice place.
Yeah. I think the big message, though, that I want everybody to take home with them is it's the holiday season. It's the season of giving. Find that charity, that local nonprofit that tugs at your heartstrings, whether it's supporting families in crisis, single adults in crisis, kids in crisis, domestic abuse situations. Find that organization and give generously, because that is how we survive. We have one state grant at the Landing that helps cover some of our payroll, but that's it. We live and die on the generosity of the community, and that's with most everybody of the local nonprofits. That's their story as well. So please, think about what you do with your income and what would be a way that you maybe could change and help support a nonprofit here in Rochester.
Well, in your case specifically, the Landing MN, what's the website of somebody? Is that a avenue they could use to donate?
Sure. landingmn.org. You can make a donation online. If you would rather write a check and just mail that to us, the address is 426 3rd Avenue Southeast, Rochester, Minnesota, 55906. That way we avoid any fees on the debit cards, on the online payments. But whichever way you'd prefer to do it. I think you can also cover the fee on the online payment as well. So, if you wanted to make a $100 donation, you can add in the charge of the fee, and we'll still get the $100. But
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, hope everything goes well at the gala, and hopefully we can talk to you again before we get to the end of the year.
Sounds great. I'm always anxious to share the word. So you keep bringing attention to what's going on.
Well, I appreciate what you do in the community very much. So thank you.
Well, thanks, Andy. I appreciate your time.
All right. Dan Fifield, he's with the Landing MN, and this is Rochester Today on News Talk 1340 KROC AM at 96.